Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life video podcast. This is Life Coach Brittany Young, and you are listening to 5-Minute Fridays with Coach Myrna. Today, I want to teach on the topic, how to nurture your seed into a tree. We are born with the invisible seeds of greatness inside of us. We are endowed with a combination of unique gifts, strengths, and talents. Some of us were born into less than ideal circumstances, and some of us were born into a more privileged life. But regardless of the circumstances or the environment that you were born in, your innate talents and your seed has the same ingredients in it in order to turn it into a tree. Think about it. One of the most famous, most beautiful scriptures in the Bible is, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, which is like the smallest seed, right? Then you can move mountains. And another one that I love to quote is the oak tree lives in the acorn. Acorn, a small thing, right? And the biggest oak tree there is. So yes, whatever seed that you have to nurture it into a tree. So another thing that I always say is, it doesn't matter where you start out, only where you end up. So you're starting out as a seed. Doesn't look very enticing, but if you end up as big as an oak tree, then that's what you need to do. But in order for your seeds of greatness to become a harvest, you must consistently tend to them. If you neglect the God-given seeds you were born with, they will eventually die because the weeds of neglect will kill them. Now, I got this episode from listening to Sadhguru, right? So most of the things that I'm going to talk to you about, I heard from Sadhguru, and I just want, when you learn something, you teach. That's what you're supposed to do. So Sadhguru says that all of us have come into this world with the same seed. But for this seed to become a tree, between the seed time and the tree, there is a journey that needs to be made. And if you want the seed to become a tree, you have to nurture the seed. You have to protect it from the weeds of automatic negative thoughts. And I wrote something on automatic negative thoughts like back in 2016. We call them ants. And those are the ones that go yap, 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 automatic in your head. We can also call them weeds, because guess what? They're not bringing you life. Automatic negative thoughts are trying to snuff out your joy and snuff out your purpose, the tree. Now, Sadhguru names these weeds because he said the weeds have been bothering humanity for 1 million years, and still humans haven't figured out how to handle these weeds. He doesn't call the weeds automatic negative thoughts like I called them. He calls the weeds anger, hatred, jealousy, fear, and less doubt. He says these weeds have lasted so long because weeds don't need any care. They sprout up, and we don't have to cultivate the garden of our minds. They're just there. If you've got a lawn or you've got any kind of garden, you know that the weeds are always there. You're working so hard to get real trees, but the weeds, you don't got to do anything. They just sprout out, and they have been able to survive And if you leave them alone, then they will take all the sunlight. They can take all the nourishment of your plants. So they can grow without any help from you. But if you want a sacred seed to sprout and prosper, you have to pull up the weeds. You have to cultivate the land of your mind. And how do you cultivate it? You got to give it the same thing that the seeds need to turn into a tree. You've got to give it water. You have to give it sunlight. And how do you do that? Let's take an example. What is exactly the water? What is exactly the sunlight, right? Because obviously we're using them as metaphors, right? So let's say that you have the talent of singing. You have to nurture your vocal cords. You have to protect your voice from the weeds. And the weeds could be maybe drinking too much. The weeds could be screaming too much. You have to protect your voice. You also have to nurture it by singing and practicing daily until you can sing like an opera star, until you can hold those high notes, right? So that is how you nurture your seed. Your seed is the fact that you were born with a singing voice, because I can't sing. A lot of people can't sing, right? But if you have that innate talent, if you have the seed, then you don't just go from the seed to an opera singer. You've got some work to do in between, and you've got to nurture your talent. One of the weeds that Sadhguru talk about is doubt. Maybe you don't think that you can sing, or you're comparing yourself to someone else that sings really, really well. And you're saying, I am never going to be like that person, right? Maybe you're jealous, right? Maybe you went to try out and they didn't pick you and you became jealous. But that jealousy is a weed, because what you should have done is say, well, you know what? I didn't get it this time, but I'm going to work either harder. It's going to be mine. That's how you deal with failure, right? So don't let these things become weeds, because then they snuff out the sunlight, right? They snuff out the sunlight, you're not watering them, and the weeds just take care of, ruin your seed. Doesn't turn into anything. How many of you know that you can plant seeds and not all of them turn into a tree? Why not? Because there's something that you got to do. It's not automatic, right? There's the thorns that Jesus talks about in the Bible. Are you surrounded by thorns that are choking out what your heart desire, what you're put on this earth to do? Or are you planting your seeds in fertile soil where your dreams can flourish? Because there are soil that makes seeds flourish, and there's soil that snuff the light out of them, right? It's not just the water and the sunlight, it is the soil. And what exactly is the soil? The soil is the environment. The soil is your mind, right? Does your mind provide the fertile soil where your dreams can take root? Or is your mind always spinning these automatic negative thoughts? I can't do this because someone did something to me. I can't do this because I was born in the wrong side of the track. I can't do this because I'm born the wrong color or the wrong gender. These are all the thoughts, that automatic negative thoughts that snuff out your seed and prevent it from turning into a tree. So, in order for you to nurture your seed into a tree, first, you need water. Water is practice. Water is continuing doing something to get you from a seed form to a tree, right? sunlight. Sunlight is, making sure that you have the right thoughts, that you have the right energy, that you are connecting to source. That's how trees grow. They connect to the source, right? So that's your sunlight. And when you do that, your seed of talent that was planted inside of you when you were born is going to turn into a beautiful tree. And what I want to leave you with is picturing the acorn, the small little acorn, turning into a majestic oak tree. And that's you. So thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of 5-Minute Fridays with Coach Myrna. Thank you for tuning in again, and I hope to see your tree. Until next time, namaste.